All right, now here we go. So let's go ahead and get started today. We're going to be talking about, and welcome to the webinar for June, building the proper foundation for artificial intelligence in the organization. If you've been studying artificial intelligence, if you've been to our class, our 3-day class on this, if you've been reading the newsletters, any of these things, or researching it yourself, you probably have been brought back to the idea of artificial intelligence is an exciting thing to think about, even consider. But the disconnect seems to be, and maybe you guys have figured it out, but the disconnect seems to be between what we're seeing that's open AI out here and trying to bring it into our organizations. What we're seeing as we look at this and as we do the classes, we did the 3-day class with Ukrainian project managers just a few months ago. And one of the things that fascinated me with all the project managers that were on there from Ukraine, they're probably a few years ahead of us on artificial intelligence and how they're using it. And so that's been very fascinating watching the Ukrainian project managers who gave insights and gave information to some of the American counterparts that were on the training virtually. And so it was just kind of an interesting piece to hear. Really, they're actually ahead of us. Europe is actually a little bit ahead of us in some areas on some of this. So let's walk you through some of this. And I'm going to put two things up on the chat a little bit later so that you can have copies of it. They're not, the plan is not perfect. It's more of a little bit more of a generic plan of some things to think about. But I did want you to have an opportunity to see some of this stuff because you are in that situation to where you'll be working on some of these, and you might even be working on it now for how to install AI at your organization and what you're going to consider. So let's lay some foundation for you because that's where we're going to focus on today primarily. So the first piece I wanted to show you is this idea on adoption and usage of AI. And so I've pulled from a lot of different organizations about this. And but it's just kind of fascinating to me. And so I've tried to get the newest information. Even some of this might even still be a few months old, but it'll be good enough for what we're talking about to kind of wet our whistle. But different organizations have run different surveys with some of their client base. And they've given feedback on several things. And so I just wanted to hit a few of these. I've got 2 slides of this. 84% of the professionals have seen improved project efficiency after integrating AI. 67% believe AI will significantly enhance project management efficiency. 95% expect AI to moderately or significantly boost project profitability. 70% of the PMs say AI will greatly enhance delivery. And the focus of this is typically focused on allowing AI to monitor the project 24/7 and give us instant feedback on that. But it's also from the aspect of some of the mundane stuff that we do, that the behind the scenes AI will hopefully be able to do that. And some of these folks are already getting some of that kind of value out of it. The other thing is talking about performance and return on investment. I thought this was kind of interesting because we're looking at these. So different organizations have looked at this. 41% of the experts report significantly better delivery with AI. And so that's what you're looking at too, is what kind of value are we getting out of this? 65% reported improved decision-making using AI because it was like an assistant and it gave you other options that maybe you didn't think about. 55% saw reduced delays after AI adoption. AI integration reduced costs by an average of 25%. Now, there could be red flags in all of these statistics. You guys know what I'm talking about. Statistics can be magnified or not magnified. My purpose behind this is kind of to wet our whistle on the idea that AI is something that we are looking at. Many of your organizations are looking at it as well on how can I implement this and be able to use this in a very powerful way. So the capabilities and tools, one final little piece here. So 85% accuracy in forecasting risk using predictive AI. And I've actually done this with a few of our projects. Of looking at something and working with some of our clients and then put some information in, just saying, okay, what risk have I not thought about? And so it didn't have client information in it specific, but it had the risk that I had already listed for a type of project. And I was surprised at the other risk. Some of the risk, you spit the bones out, they weren't very good, but some of the risk I had not thought about that were spot on. And so I can see this as a good counterpoint or good idea generator for us of something that maybe we have not thought about. 35% reduction in planning time because AI can do it so fast and give you a draft of so many different things. 80% of the PM software vendors are embedding it. And so what you're going to see, and you're already seeing this with Microsoft with Copilot, and you'll see it with other vendors as well, if you're not already doing that, is that you'll start seeing other vendors tap into some type of AI component for this to be able to help them. So Jira, Asana, Microsoft Project, we're seeing this come about in a lot of different places. And of course, it's still evolving. Don't mistake what I'm saying. It's not perfect. It's still evolving. So understanding the role of AI in the modern project management. So artificial intelligence refers to machines or software that can mimic human intelligence to perform tasks such as learning, reasoning, problem solving, and decision making. And so for those of you who are just on the front end of this and have not attended anything else, then you understand what I'm talking about here. You're probably just getting in. And so all the idea of how do you use AI, writing the prompts, that we dealt with that in one of the newsletters that we've already written as well. And we've talked about that already in one of the webinars. And so you can go back and find that on our website under webinars if you want to watch that 1 hour webinar. Types of AI that you're having to look at, how can it help us? One of them is called weak or narrow AI. And so this is where we see our chatbots, scheduling assistants. That's really one of the lower technology driven kind of components. Current project management tools are using a lot of these pieces here to help us speed some things up. You've got general AI, which is considered strong AI. And so it's still developing. All of this is developing. Of course, the thing is every 6 months, it's developing at a whole different speed in many of the cases. And so you're going to continue to see, once again, the evolution. And 18 months is an eternity for a lot of what we're doing here. I've been working with this 3 years after the university asked me to train, put me through some training and asked me to look at it to see what it was going to do to our doctoral students and to some of our graduate students. And they trained a bunch of professors who were interested. And I've just been amazed in 3 years how much this has just exploded. Intermediate insights. Most AI used today is task-specific, data-driven, relying on algorithms trained on historical data. And so if you're not aware of what happens, AI has to have a lot of data. And so the data is going to make a difference on its outcomes. If we have biased data, then you're going to have biased outcomes or biased answers. If we have good data, then we're going to have good. So if you're using an OpenAI tool, like many of us are right now at playing with some of this stuff, such as OpenAI, ChatGPT, and some of the other versions, and you're using something that's open, that's probably pulling from the internet. That's what a lot of this is. And so that's not as much value to most of us as what we're going to have when you're looking at it through the eyes of how can we do this in our organization, behind our firewalls, in our data, that kind of stuff. So in project management, this includes what's called machine learnings for predictions, natural language processing, for text analysis. And these are the areas that seem to be growing so fast. Now, there's other areas probably that's growing as well, but these are the ones that we tap into that's so exciting for project management for us to consider. Some other things, cognitive computing systems. Now, cognitive computing systems is one of the terms that some of the people who are writing about this are calling this connection with AI. They're calling it cognitive computing. And so it simulates human thought is what the purpose is. The processes are being integrated into advanced project platforms for autonomous planning. And so when you look at some of these, it might not say that this is ChatGPT or this is OpenAI or even name the tool that you're using, Claude or Grok or any of these others. It might just call it cognitive computing because the positive thing and the fear is because it functions a lot like a human. Even though it doesn't reason like we do, it still is making some decisions to try to assist us. Emergent AI capabilities like those found in large language models such as GPT that most of us have been exposed to, that allows for contextual understanding, summarization, adaptive learning over time. And so once again, as you're looking at these different tools to start playing with, and if you haven't started, you probably want to sign up for some of the free accounts and start playing with it to see what you think. Do you think it would bring value to your organization? Because once again, everybody on this call, these are all project managers that we're connected to. So we are going to be the people who's installing this stuff. That's why I've got two things I want to give you that on the chat in just a moment. All right, so let's look at it in project AI in the modern project management overview. So let's look at it from a couple of things here. So first off, steps to include AI in project management. You're not necessarily going to be just throwing AI out there in any kind of way because you've got a lot of protections that you're going to need to put in. So you're assessing the current project management that you're doing. How many projects are you doing? What kind of projects? You're defining strategic objectives. Can this help us drive can AI help us drive our strategic value, our strategic positioning? You're going to build some type of cross-functional AI adoption team. So those of you who are thinking about doing this, kind of walking through the steps of some of the things that would help you for implementation. So look at a cross-functional AI adoption team. What this is going to do is this is going to allow your people to start looking at it and start dealing with some of the impediments that would keep you from putting it into place. You're looking at the data, the structure of your data, because your data has to be structured in certain ways, and AI is able to read it to be able to regurgitate the type of output you want. You're analyzing the results and scaling gradually. You're analyzing the results and you're developing AI governance framework. You're institutionalizing AI in project management processes. And so once again, you're looking at a composite of a lot of different components that you're trying to pull together here. And so as you do this, if you look at it through implementing AI augmented project management, which means that we would work with AI, but AI is not doing it by itself, but we're working with it. I think this is going to be some of our early steps. It seems to be to where we use it as another tool to help us analyze risk, or another tool to draft a business case, or another tool to draft a charter, any of those kind of things that we have done in the past. And so as you look all the way through here with different things, as you're walking through here, you'll notice right in the middle of this slide, a pilot AI-driven project management. And so what you're looking at is, as they go through shifting the organization to start using AI in project management processes and techniques, right in the middle is a pilot project. Now, I don't know what you feel about pilot project. Some people love them, some people don't, but it typically works best when you're working with such brand new technology and you're not sure how it's going to work in your culture, in your organization. And so it's one of those things for you to be able to try it out. And so it's strictly a experimentation kind of thing. So you put AI into a very locked system that you have the capability of running, and then you learn from that pilot project and you make your decisions then on your other rollouts based on what you've learned there. And so that is a very strong possibility here because AI is evolving so quickly. So here's some application areas that might help you, key AI applications. So one of those is predictive analysis. Project management is filled with making predictions. We do it through our schedule, through our cost. We do it when you're on the agile side as well. So forecast timelines, cost overruns, risks based on historical or real-time data. That prediction is a wealth of information because it helps us kind of get an early warning of what we're going to do with the project. Automation, we've talked about repetitive tasks, timesheets, meeting notes, anything that could be repetitive that AI could just pick up on, that would obviously free us up. And then the natural language processing, NLP summarizes meeting notes, emails, project documents. So some of the mundane stuff that we find ourselves doing, we would not have to do in this. All right, so let's move into the area of use cases. Use cases are going to be driving a lot of this. And so scheduling optimization. So AI adjusts schedule dynamically based on constraints and priorities. And so this would be something that would be reading your scheduling. It's not perfect where it is yet because it's still evolving. We're talking about baby steps right now. Risk assessment, we referred to that a moment ago. Resource allocation. Could AI be contacting us or sending us notes letting us know how our resources are doing and whether or not we need to shift our resources a little bit. It suggests optimal team assignments based on skill, availability, performance history. It can do a lot of those pieces. And once again, it's automated 24/7 so that we know what's happening and it's making recommendations. And with it being augmented with a project manager or with a project team, we can say yes or no on that and do what it's suggesting or not do what it's suggesting. We're not mandated to follow it. The other thing would be looking at some advanced pieces of this. So AI systems now perform real-time sentiment analysis of team communications to detect disengagement or conflict. As you know, PMI is already moving in some of this direction about sentiment analysis, and they're wanting us to be able to pick up on this earlier. PMBOK 7 has gone to a system view rather than a process view from PMBOK 6. PMBOK 8 will probably anchor that up a little bit better and support it a little bit better for us stronger system view, but that sentiment analysis is very much part of where PMI has gone, where projects are going. Autonomous project agents are emerging, tools that can replan timelines or suggest corrective actions without human prompting. And this is the next evolution of AI that you'll see. Most of us are starting to learn how to do prompts. And so if you attended my 3-day class, 2 days, we're talking about how to do it. We start building it. And then 1 day is just on advanced prompting techniques. And so we've been doing that. We did that for the Ukrainian project managers. We've done that for Federal Aviation up in Washington, D.C. We did it for our local chapter here in Springfield, and people are learning that. But what's going to be different is when we don't really have to have the prompt to be able to get AI to perform. So that's going to be an exciting time as they continue to experiment and roll that out. Let's look at some of the benefits, though, that we could have from in modern project management from AI. The first would be enhanced accuracy. Many of the times we don't think about the ripple effect of all the things that we're working on. We have teams that are working on 4 or 5 projects at the same time, so resources are stretched. And then we have just common events that take place that change the dynamic of our projects. And so this accuracy is a fluctuating thing sometimes because of circumstances that we didn't do or decide, but it impacts our project. So it leverages databases, it learns from previous project, enables dynamic forecasting rather than static planning. There's a reduction even in human error that is being forecasted for this. And so it reduces manual data entry, standardizes output, flags inconsistencies. So a lot of times folks will look at this and say, well, this is no big deal. This is just a software. And it is. All that part is true. But if we can come up with something that would even give us a 15% better success rate with our projects, then it's going to be well worth it, because we have so many projects that get behind and fail and run over costs and those type of things. So if we could even have something that just gives us additional information and makes it 15% better for these projects to be successful, it's going to save us money and heartache with all of our projects. Increased speed and efficiency is starting to show. Real-time dashboards provided with instant insights. So you're not having to fix your dashboard for the Thursday meeting. It's updated all day long, and it continues to update that dashboard. Faster onboarding through AI-generated training recommendations. Advanced benefits could be continuous learning systems improve with every project cycle, creating institutional memory. AI-driven decision support systems combine scenario modeling with business impact analysis. So it looks at the scenarios and makes recommendations, or gives you 5 scenarios that it sees for the project. Even though none of these are going to be perfect, okay, right now, it still would be information that we would want to look at to at least have some of these ideas, because some of it is just so far out there that we haven't even considered. Let's look at some of the challenges or misconceptions, okay? This is where we'll get sometimes on the negative side. So first off, could we have an over-reliance on AI? The answer is yes, no doubt about it. We all get lazy, we all get weak. We might not check something out. We might just go with something AI and just let it go. And people think that you've actually looked at it, you've read it, you've written it, whatever. We risk blind trust in AI, and it's not there. We know it's not there. It does hallucinate and create mistakes. And so it might tell you something that you know is not right. And so that's why you want that human augmentation into it. AI is only as good as the data that it's drawing from. And so that's the reason why you want good data for it to draw from. PMI has already rolled out their chatbot for their PMI tool. And so it draws from the PMI data. And so it's something kind of fun for you to play with. It's a little bit more narrow than what we have. If those of you who are using Claude, Grok, or ChatGPT, or Copilot, or any of these things, that's pretty much more of an open system. So you have some of that. Misunderstanding capabilities. Misconception is AI can make judgment calls or understand project context automatically. That's really not true. Right now, what happens is it makes recommendations, and it might have it right, but you're the human who's making the decision. Reality is AI lacks human judgment, and so ethics, creativity, and novel scenarios. So this is it's not guided by ethics. You're the ethical person, okay? So this is not an ethic thing. So AI might recommend something, you say, man, I can't do that. They'll sue me. Well, you're absolutely right. But it picked up the data, especially if you're using an open system that's pulling from the internet. What happens if it picks up something from the 1920s or 40s or something like that? So it could be making some bad suggestions, but you're the human saying, okay, I'm not doing that. That's totally wrong. All right, the other side is bias in data. That's what we're referring to here. Bias in the data or the algorithms could propagate unfair recommendations. PMs might act as ethical overseers, evaluating not just what the AI says, but why it's suggesting it. So once again, you don't have perfect data out here, and that's what it's pulling from. It's pulling from those open sources. So as you do put this into your company, and that's what I think is our next step for so many, and some of you are already doing it or looking at it, and that's why you're wanting to get it behind working with your data and getting your data into a pattern that it's going to be easier to be read. Those are going to be some key steps for this. Let's look at preparing the organization for AI. Those of you who are already looking at this, God bless you, because this is going to be a challenge, and that's why I've got something for you here in just a moment. So intermediate insight, so organizational maturity. Evaluate the current digital transformation levels. So when you look at your organization, how's the data that has been archived all these years? What do you need to do? And so AI might initially help you get your data organized before you actually get a tool that's really working correctly. Digital infrastructure, reviewing current IT infrastructure for scalability, compatibility with AI solutions, ensuring data storage solutions can handle large volumes required for AI processing. So this whole issue of data is going to be is kind of the bottleneck for so many of us. We have data that's not stored correctly, or don't have data that's the right data. And so because of that, you're going to see some other systems come out to where you'll see people who are selling you a cloud system. And so that means that you're going to be leasing that cloud system to be able to run a lot of your AI on. Some of it will work fine for you, and then some of it might not be as particular as you want because of the type of industry that you happen to be in. What about leadership? This is one of the challenges we're hearing about, is that leaders are fearful of AI. And a lot of times, because they haven't gone through training, they haven't seen some of the things, they're not wanting to look at anything. AI is going to be here whether you and I look at it or not. So we want to be on the side to where we are understanding it and do it in an ethical and right way with our organization. So you gauge leadership's understanding and commitment to AI as well as your teams. Now, one of the newsletters we sent out, I think it was last month, it might have been the month before, we actually showed you how to use AI to create an assessment of your team and of your leadership for readiness for AI. We put it in the newsletter and we gave you the prompt so that you could recreate it and redo it on your side, because this would give you some insights on, are my people ready? Are they even open to it? Is management open to it? Sure, you've got to have all the stop gaps in there. Don't mistake what I'm saying. But you're trying to say, okay, are we ready? Or is there areas of our company that would be ready that we could do it in? Advanced insights in this AI readiness frameworks utilize comprehensive frameworks like Deloitte's AI readiness model. This is one of those that's already out, which encompasses strategy, technology, data, people, and ethics. And it's looking to see whether or not we're ready for AI. Conduct maturity assessments, which can help. Cultural assessments of how is our culture. So you analyze organizational culture, the openness, the innovation. You implement programs to foster a culture that embraces AI. This is no different than when we started looking at internet back in the 1990s. People looked at internet as being fearful. They felt like it was going to take over. They felt like they didn't want any part of it. Why would anybody want internet? Now think about it. We're on internet right now teaching this class. We are communicating every day with hundreds and thousands of emails. And what we are looking at here, we would die when our internet goes down. It's like, oh no, I don't have internet, because everything runs through that. You're going to see that evolution with a lot of AI. It needs restrictions, no doubt about it. It needs laws. I don't want anybody taking my face. I don't want anybody taking my voice. Not that anybody would want it, but I don't want anybody doing that, because that's mine. Yours is yours. So we do need laws. We do need the restrictions from that. Let's look at aligning AI strategy with business goals. So as you look at it from your organization personally, okay? So what is the strategic alignment? So one of the suggestions that I think is good is mapping AI initiatives to specific business objectives. So there might be areas that AI is going to work real well, and there might be some that AI is just it hasn't evolved enough for that. So you prioritize what projects offer clear value propositions and return on investment. That's what you're looking at. Now, something that we did to test it, just a few weeks ago, we were blessed to be in Washington, D.C. We did training for FAA. These men and women in Washington, D.C., they have been my test group for all of our new seminars. And so we had already taught them AI. We did that the year before, and that was an AI class. This was a high-performance team class that we had integrated AI in to the activities. And so what we did is we wanted to see, okay, if I'm using this as a trainer, and can I integrate AI into that course to where they're doing their groups, just like most of us do with training, you had to interact with your group, but components of that, they had to get on AI and see what AI would recommend to them in certain situations. And so it wasn't perfect. And I came back and did a rewrite just last week on this thing, and we're going to be testing it here in Springfield with our Springfield group chapter, a PMI chapter. But that's where that evolution's going. Can it be integrated into training? And training fits it very well in so many areas. So you've got stakeholder engagement. It involves key stakeholders early in the planning process to ensure buy-in, to ensure alignment. So all of those components are very important there. Now, let me show you a couple of things here. So this came from Dorian Hermans, and I thought this was an interesting graphic that was out on the web, and I talked about the goals, the AI team, the technologies, the risk levels, the data, AI in the company, the KPIs, the cultural shift, and I liked it because these are the components that we're having to talk about. And so we talk about a lot of other things, but we're having to look at these things because all these things on the left-hand side, the technologies, the teams, the goals can be there, but here's some of the challenges that we have. AI in our specific company is how is it going to influence us? How are we going to position it? How are we going to position it with the team? And the other piece is the cultural shift. AI is going to shift us to where you are using technology differently. And here's the thing, it's not something that probably will be bad if we put the stop gaps in there. It's going to be something that will be good. But I thought it was a great graphic, and I thought it covered so many topics that we do need to be talking about if we're looking at AI for our company. So let's talk about a roadmap for AI in modern project management. So we can look at it from three different angles, okay? So nobody is perfect on AI. Nobody is perfect, and nobody is 100% knowledgeable because this stuff's changing so fast. So short term, what's the initial AI implementation? Where are you going to put it to where you feel the safest, where you don't think it's going to run off, okay? Where can we put it that's going to have data? And the second part is going to be midterm. So as you expand and optimize this and scale it to work in your organization, once again, you're giving it a little bit more leadway, but where is that going to be? Because nobody else is going to be able to tell you that other than your people. And then the other is, what is our advanced integration of this? What is the long term? One of the things I thought was so fascinating working with the Ukrainian project managers and some of the project managers out of Europe that was on our in our training was they were talking about how they use it right now, how those companies have put it into place. And it's not 100% in every area, but it is in those places that they feel the most safe with that. Intermediate insights, the short-term pilot AI in areas with high impact, low complexity. Establish foundational data practices. Midterm, goals would be expand AI applications to more complex processes, develop internal AI capabilities and training programs. So you can see that you're putting it into more places, you feel safer with it, you've got more stop gaps to control it. In long term, you'll see integrated AI in major core business processes. But by the time you get here, you've got much more of the rules and the guidelines that you have put into place for all of this. Continuously refining the AI models as strategies based on feedback. Now, some organizations are treating AI like you can't even say the word. You know, you have done something horrible by saying the word. Most organizations are starting to draft their policies for AI and talking about how they're going to use it in their organization. And that's what needs to be in place for some of these. So the advanced insights continue with dynamic road mapping, incorporating flexibility to adapt to technological advances, changing business needs, regularly review and adjust the roadmap to stay aligned with strategic objectives. And so once again, AI is making suggestions based on what it's picking up on of what and where we should be going. Risk management, identifying potential risk at each stage, developing mitigation strategies. I mean, think about it. At your fingertips, you have an assistant that can make suggestions of how to mitigate that part of the project. Ensuring compliance with regulatory or requirements. And so once again, if it's tapping into those pieces, then it can come back and say, here's some things that would be good for you to consider. Many of them we think about, but the time factor is the thing. We might think about it in an hour and a half meeting and come up with some ideas that AI will come up with in 3 or 4 seconds. So it's that kind of look. Building data infrastructure for AI in the modern project management. So building data structure, you're looking at monitoring and accountability. So this would be regular audits, performance reviews, bias mitigation. Think about this. This is running behind the scenes. Risk mitigation frameworks, identifying and controlling AI-related risk. Are there certain things that AI is doing or could do? Data governance alignment. Now, I showed you two of the privacy and ownership compliance components. GDPR stands for it's a European. It's out of Europe. It came out in 2018. It's a data protection law, and so Europe is a little bit ahead of us in some of these things. GDPR, that's where it's coming out of from 2018. The CCPA is actually the California Consumer Privacy Act. It's actually been has been changed to the CPRA, I think is what the acronym is now, in 2020. But you're starting to see a couple of organizations like the GDPR is out of the European Union, but your CCPA is here in the United States for California. You're starting to see organizations look at data privacy and making sure that they've got their rules and regulations in place for all of this. So privacy, the point is definition, protecting an individual's personal data, name, address, email, behavioral data, so that people are not able to pick us out. People are not able to tap into those type of things. All of that's going to be very important, obviously. So in all of AI often requires large data sets. We've referred to that. So organizations must ensure that AI systems do not misuse or overexpose private information. And so that means that as it's working on something, that it's not telling somebody else something to where they could track me down, something to where they could call me, something to where they could send me something. An example would be an AI-powered HR tool must not reveal applicants' private details unnecessarily. And of course, HR is testing this like crazy in some of the companies, and they're watching it like crazy because it can be biased. If it pulls from old type of hiring practices, then you know it's going to be biased because you're wanting to give everybody a fair shot for that job today. So you do have to watch that. As you look at intermediate insights, data quality and accessibility, ensuring the data is clean, well organized, easily accessible for AI applications. Now, AI is actually helping create and straighten out some of the data. And many of you who live in the data world, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There could be a lot of additional expense and work to get your data in that situation, no doubt about it. And that might make it cost prohibitive in using AI in some of those cases. So the data is going to be everything with that. Also, security measures, implementing robust security protocols to protect sensitive data, comply with the regulations, and protect the company, and so people are not being able to use an AI tool to be able to get into your organization. Also, advanced insights would continue with feature stores, utilizing feature stores to manage reused data features across different AI models, enhancing efficiency and consistency. Now, many of you are trying different AI models with ChatGPT, with Claude, with Copilot, with Gemini, and so on. But the point is, have you noticed how they act a little different? You can take the same prompt and put the same prompt in every one of those, and it will give you the same content from a topic standpoint, but it will be different a lot of times. And that's because these AI models are pulling data from in a different manner from their algorithm. Scalable architecture. Can we design data infrastructure that can scale with growing data volumes and processing needs, incorporating technologies like data lakes and cloud storage solutions? So the question that's coming back is that you hear people talking about is, at what point do we not have enough data? We have simple data for some simple tasks, but at some point, what's going to happen when we're needing all this advanced data? And that's one of the reasons why people are wanting to think of, well, maybe we would be contracting out for some type of cloud service. And I think you're going to see that continue to evolve. So building data infrastructure, data quality, security measures, feature stories, scalable architecture, obviously all of those are going to be pieces that you're going to have to be looking at as well. All right, let's look a little further here for developing governance structures to support AI. One of the things that you're looking at here is what is AI governance? So a definition, the importance for your organization, establishing AI oversight bodies, AI steering committee, roles and responsibilities, policy development, creating internal policies around AI procurement, development, and use. So AI can help in so many ways, but once again, what is our policy for being able to look at this and monitor it and make sure they didn't pick one vendor over another vendor, or didn't or left a vendor out on purpose for something that was unethical or bias. Monitoring accountability, we've referred to that with regular audits. Risk management frameworks, identifying and controlling AI-related risk, and then of course your data governance alignment with whoever we go with, and of course we'll probably have one here in our country that will be a whole different acronym that we have to keep up with. Now let's look at opportunities that we're talking about here. Talent acquisition, performance evaluation, employee engagement, learning and development. We're going to be looking at every one of these. So let's deal with this for a moment. So talent acquisition. AI is already being tested and is being very successful with human integration of this, so that we protect no bias, and we don't rule people in or out wrongfully. So they're screening candidates, matching them to job requirements. This is working right now in so many cases. You are having to have that human interaction there. Performance evaluations, analyzing employee performance using data-driven insights. It's being used very, very successfully. Employee engagement, increasing engagement through personalized recommendations. Also, learning and development, offering AI-based training and skill development programs. Now, just looking at this thing is something I think is going to be just an unbelievable, because you'd be able to coach someone and be able to teach them really very specific principles, very specific techniques, models, skills, and allow AI to actually create some of that for you to be able to take your people through. And so you can see how especially some of the lower level training pieces, you would be able to do this. I shared this before, but let me share it one more time. I had a doctoral student who was writing a dissertation, and they named a particular methodology or theory that I had not seen in a lot of years. And so I'd read it years ago, but it's not like something I was going to regurgitate all these years later. And so I jumped on AI and I asked it to give me the strengths, weaknesses, a definition, and an overview of that particular theory, so that I'd be fresh with that. In 3 seconds, I had it. I read it in 3 more minutes. And then as I'm looking at it, it brought back the memory of what I had of that. And then as I was reading their information, it made more sense to me because I was fresh on that theory. And so that took place in a matter of just a few seconds. It took me longer to write the prompt to get it to give it to me than it did for it to give me the information. That's what I'm talking about, why this will influence training. And any gap area you and I have, it has the ability to be able to give us some feedback and give us some learning principles and some teaching in those areas. Now, let me go on real quick here because I'm about to run out of time. So AI systems can autonomously generate and adjust project plans in response to real-time changes, such as resource availability, supply chain delays, uses constraint-based reasoning and reinforced learning to reallocate resources or adjust timelines. Now, once again, we're still talking about using this with human engagement, okay? So it's not just doing it and then we're surprised. Guess what? We can say yes or no to any of these. So an AI-driven project platform shifts tasks based on team member workloads, performance history, or unexpected blockers. And so what it does, it makes that recommendation, and we look at it, make sure it fits all the things that we think it needs to fit, and then we say yes, and it adjusts it that quick, literally that quick in some of the programs. Predictive risk intelligence. Beyond identifying traditional risk, AI models use deep learning to forecast emergent risks from the market trends, geopolitical shifts, or vendor behavior, social sentiment, news feeds that impact stakeholder expectations. We're already seeing people play with this a little bit on how they're going to invest. And so down the road, will investment be something that really AI is going to be able to make suggestions for? Once again, you're saying yes or no on that investment, but will that be something that they're making better investment ideas than what we can make? Don't know. We'll see. It's an exciting thing to even consider. Integrate structure, KPIs, unstructured data, emails, feedback to detect risks before humans do. And so is this like an early warning system? That's what I'm talking about, to be able to warn us as project managers, this could be happening soon, or we need to watch out for this. Cognitive digital assistance for decision-making. AI tools act as advisory agents, offering scenario-based recommendations with pros and cons of something to help us make decisions faster. Systems apply Bayesian interference and Monte Carlo simulations to evaluate potential project paths. I mean, think about being able to use some of these things that if you took your PMP, you were asked about all these things, you maybe have never done a Monte Carlo, or you've done it a handful of times. And think about the capability of technology being able to do it and give you feedback on some of this information to be able, and with recommendations. So a project manager receives options with likelihood-based outcomes for scope changes or budget cuts or resource shifting. Just think about, you're looking at data, and that turns it in from being a gut reaction, subjective, to where we are doing and making data decisions on that project at all times. I mean, it's very fascinating. Not there yet. Real-time stakeholder sentiment analysis uses natural language processing, NLP, to analyze stakeholder communications, like we said, referred to earlier, emails, surveys, chats, Internal morale, meeting transcripts, Slack, MS Teams are already using some of this. I wonder how many on this call, I'm not asking this, but many people are already switching over to some type of electronic transcription ability or app to be able to run their meetings. And so they're doing it with Zoom, they're doing it with MS Teams, but they're doing it with other apps to be able to document all that was transcribed in that meeting. Detects dissatisfaction, burnout, lack of engagement, alerts, and to alert project managers proactively. So if sentiment drops in retrospectives of the AI will flag the potential team disengagement risk. And so it allows you to think, oh, wow, it picked up on this. It might not be right, but it allows you at least an early warning to be able to take a look at that. AI-driven portfolio optimization. So this is making a difference on how and where we put our money. So AI tools evaluate project portfolios using a multi-objective optimization, balances return on investment, risk, strategic alignment, and resource constraints, and suggests which projects to pause, accelerate, or terminate. And so it's telling you that this project is underperforming extremely bad. And so make a suggestion. Now, you might look at it and say, well, I can't get rid of that project. It doesn't matter. It is underperforming. We got to fix it, but I can't get rid of it. So you have the option to say no. Continuously recalibrating the portfolio based on real-time changes in the business strategy or in the environment. Also, adaptive resource allocation. AI evaluates team skills, fatigue, and velocity to suggest dynamic team formations. It learns over time which team compositions perform best on specific type of projects. It includes AI-enhanced talent profiling to match people with tasks beyond what traditional RACI or Gantt charts might offer. And so it's picking up on those skills and the type of projects that person has been doing. Augmented Agile, AI Augmented Agile enhances agile ceremonies, sprint planning, suggests a realistic backlog based on past performance, daily stand-ups, summarizes the blockers and recommends solutions, retrospectives, analyzing tone, outcomes, and patterns to suggest improvements. And the example would be Copilot-like agents guiding Scrum Masters by generating sprint insights from Jira and Git data. So just an example right here that we're already seeing out here. Automated regulatory and compliance monitoring, using regulatory intelligence engines to monitor changes in regulations such as data privacy, environmental laws, alerting project teams of non-compliance risks before audits or product launches so that we get an early warning that this might not be complying in the way that it should be. Integrating with documentation to auto-validate compliance status. I mean, all of this would be saving us money because we're not waiting for somebody to audit it and catch us and fine us. AI is telling us ahead of time that this is an area we need to take another look at, that we maybe missed something. And that, once again, early warning is a wealth of information for the average project manager, and we love it like that. Generative AI, which most of us maybe have worked with for project documentation, knowledge transfer. AI tools can auto-generate documentation for all the meeting minutes, lessons learned, project closure reports. It can do all of that. And it will create any kind of template you want for your project right now. And so it supports a semantic search across past projects for real-time reuse of historical knowledge. So all these years where we've talked about one of the first steps that we would do in a traditional project is for us to review historical information. AI would give you the ability to read summaries, overviews of that right now. If it has access to that information. And so that would be a wealth of information. In a matter of moments, you could scan to see what was some good things that happened in those projects and what was some things that knocked the socks off. And that's what you're wanting to see. What could hurt my project if we go with this? All right, project implementation, AI augmented project management. So let's go into this just a moment. So here's where I want you to get your handoff, okay? Or handout, I'm sorry, not handoff, handover. Handout, let me say it right. There's two on here. So if you'll open up your chat right now, I want to send you something here that we have. And so let me get my chat open here, make sure I've got them on here. I do. So I've got two documents on here that I'm going to be sending you. One just is entitled Basic Plan for Implementation. And what I've done is I've pulled some things together from some of the research that we've been doing all this year about how to implement some of this, because that's going to be the hurdle that all of us are trying to get over. And so once again, these are baby steps, okay? So I want you to see some of this, but I've also included the current version of our AI Simplified newsletter, so you can see the content. And so I'm going to give you that. So if you'll open up your chat, and have it open right now. That way it'll come to you. So let me send that to you right now. So if you open up your chat right now, here it comes. So you'll be hopefully getting that. And so give me an electronic thumbs up if you are able to pick that up on your side. So just to make sure it went through the way we thought it would. Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. All right, let me go ahead while that's coming through on your side, and let me show you what the last couple of slides here. So for those of you who are looking to make a move, or you're looking for project managers, let me tell you something that we have just started. We have just opened up a jobs board on our website. And so it costs you nothing. This is just something that we do for our clients. And so it gives you an opportunity to be able to put if you have an open project management position there or a business analyst position, go ahead. You can put that in for free on our jobs board on our site. And so this is themathisgroup.com. And so that's where it would be, the job board. And so you can put it in there. If you're looking for work, you'll be able to do this. We've just opened it. We've got one on there. So they ought to get 500 people then signing in. So we do just have one right now, but this gives you an opportunity to stay within the network. We have mostly PMPs who interact with our organization for stuff. And so it gives you an opportunity there. The other thing I want you to see is if you're wanting to look at some of the other AI simplified newsletters, we've done one a month since January. And so that's the June one, I believe, is the one I just sent you. Then you can go back under updates, and all of those are posted. So you'll be able to go all the way back to January. All of them are between 10 and 15 pages. We gave you a catalog of tools. I think it was in April. And so that one's probably about 40 pages long of different tools, but it just gives you a little bit of an overview of some of those tools that are used. And so just some information. Once again, none of it's perfect. It's all evolving. It's all moving very, very quickly as you do this. And here are the future webinars that we're going to be doing right around the corner. So July, we're going to talk about lean project management, eliminating waste, increasing value. And so we're going to go all the way through high performance team culture. We're going to talk about that a little bit in August. September, the critical role of knowledge transfer. In October, tailoring your project plans, how customization leads to success. November, we're going to talk about empowerment, shifting authority. And then December, we're going to talk about data-driven decision-making. So all of these are going to be new topics. We put new topics in for this year so that everybody was getting something kind of new as you do this. And then this is our last mastermind group. So if you're looking to do your PMP, or you have people who are wanting to do their PMP, this is free. It's 5 days long. They do about an hour a day is what they do. It helps them be able to get their application information ready. It helps them to be able to jump through, kind of see what the PMP is going to be involved with, to see how they're going to be able to work at it so they can spend the week in a boot camp someplace. And then at the end of our mastermind, we draw a free and give a free scholarship to one person. So there is a motivation there for people to do it and complete it. And so we have a scholarship we give away for every mastermind group. We normally do 3 a year. This will be our last one. We just finished up the PMP this week, yesterday, and PMP exam prep, and one of the guys in there was someone who had won their scholarship. And so that's an exciting thing to see, people being able to get their PMP. And then virtual boot camps, we still have 3 more left. Every other month, we do a PMP boot camp. And so this is in August, we'll be doing our PMP exam prep, October and December. And we just found out from PMI that the test is not scheduled to change anymore until 2026. We found that out just earlier last week. We found this out. And so that's good, because that means that you have very low calculations on this. You're only calculating the PERT, and so you're not calculating anything else. And so this is a great thing for those of you who are thinking about getting this. This is probably the most humane test that's out right now. You're not doing 15 calculations and inputs, outputs, tools, and all that kind of crazy stuff that we all had to do. And so this one is really much more focused on the material written by PMI. And so that's been a very good thing. And then let me just close out with this. I appreciate so much those of you who attended our 2-day customer appreciation training that we did. I guess it was earlier this month or last month. And so we did 2 days for free on that we gave everybody. And so we wanted to thank you guys for working with us all these years. And so we're talking about doing another one in 2026. And so we'll talk about that later and give you some additional topics on that. But if I can help you in any way or work with you in any way, contact us by our website or by our 800 number. And we'd love to be able to work with you and to be able to help you in any way we could. could. So anyway, God bless you guys as you get ready to implement AI. And so I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it gave you some thought of what you're doing for implementation. And so anyway, God bless you guys. Have a wonderful summer with your families. Okay. Bye, everybody. Y'all take care. Bye now.
Thank you, sir.